Hey everyone, James Azar here with CyberHub Engage. Today is Wednesday, June 26, 2019. After a few days of a hiatus, we are back on our 60 seconds of cyber. This cyber week has had us all over the place. Accumulating today's events was Prime Minister of Israel Benjamin Netanyahu's address for all of us, which I will post with some commentary once I get back to the States next week. But one of the major aspects that people continue to discuss this week, and something I really kind of want to talk about in 60 seconds of cyber is, yesterday we kind of heard the Dutch telecommunication company CISO Jaya was actually at the event talking the fact that what's been rumored to be a cyber attack was in fact an IT issue. It wasn't really a cyber attack. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today also mentioned the new paradigm, the revolution of the cyberspace and the cyber age. And all of this essentially entails that cybersecurity can no longer be siloed. And I'll talk more about that in our next podcast here of the CyberHub Engage podcast. So if you're not subscribing to us, just please make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to the CyberHub Engage podcast. We're going to talk about this paradigm specifically, and as well as hear from some of the people I've spoken with this week on all the various improvements and challenges in the world of cybersecurity. That's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow and we'll be reporting from a very, very special place tomorrow as well. Make sure you're following and subscribing. Hey everyone, James Azar here with CyberHub Engage. Good morning. Today's Tuesday, July 2nd, 2019. Back stateside in beautiful Dallas, Texas today. I'll be back in our studio tomorrow with a great podcast interview with a great Chief Information Security Officer. So make sure you subscribe to our CyberHub Engage podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform. I'll also be recording a live podcast tomorrow afternoon on the summary of Cyber Week Israel. But here's your 60 seconds of cyber today. A second Florida city has agreed to pay ransomware. Lake City, Florida has agreed to actually pay the hackers the ransom they were asking for. In other news, the ex-CIO for Equifax has been sentenced to 4 months in prison for insider trading, and that saga of the Equifax breach and response continues to play out outside of Congress, now in the courts of law. And obviously there's still 3 pending class action lawsuits against Equifax that are yet to be determined, that are still ongoing, that we'll continue to cover for you guys as more information becomes available. That's it for today's cybersecurity news and information. Make sure you subscribe, follow, and share. We'll be back tomorrow live back in our studio in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia for more. Hey everyone, James Azar here with CyberHub Engage. Today is Wednesday, July 3rd, 2019, and here are your 60 seconds of cyber. Finally back in our studio in Atlanta after a few weeks on the road, being in Israel and Dallas. I'm recording our final podcast summarizing our Israel fly-in and our experience there. But let's kick off with today's headlines. So, U.S. Cyber Command issued an alert via Twitter this morning about threat actors abusing an Outlook vulnerability to plant malware on government networks. The Outlook bug was discovered by SensePost, and it allows threat actors to escape from the Outlook sandbox and run malicious code on any underlying OS. Facebook has taken down over 30 pages from its platform after security analysts from Check Point found hackers created fake pages about Libyan politics and took over other pages related to Libya, then loaded them with malware. The campaign has been dubbed Operation Tripoli. And one of the world's most successful cyber criminal groups has altered its tactics and is also distributing a new form of malware as part of its latest campaign, which this time targets banks and financial services employees in the US, the UAE, and Singapore. TA-505 first emerged in 2014 and has gone on to become one of the most prolific cybercriminal groups, delivering rats, information stealers, and banking trojans to victims around the world. The group has been responsible for some of the most prolific and malicious cyber campaigns of recent years, including the Dridex banking trojan and the Loki ransomware. Much of TA-505's success comes from the sheer volume of their attacks, combined with how the group is continually updating its payloads. That's it for today's cyber news. Tomorrow is 4th of July. We will be off. We'll be back on Friday with more. Happy 4th of July. Enjoy your Independence Day. Hey everyone, James Azar here with CyberHub Engage. Good morning. Today's Friday, July 5th, 2019, and here are your 60 seconds of cyber. I hope you enjoyed your star-spangled awesome 4th of July. I know I love it. Cyber threats aren't always online, and sometimes they're internal as well. This week, an electrical engineer faces up to 219 years in federal prison after being found guilty of conspiring to smuggle military-grade semiconductor chips to China. On Tuesday, the U.S. Department of Justice said that Yi Chi-shi, a part-time LA resident, attempted to secure semiconductor chips used in U.S. military applications in order to transfer them to Chinese associates. More on that next week. Recent system outages at some of the U.S. largest firms have increased the debate over cloud and is it really better. For about 3 hours yesterday, Apple had a widespread cloud outage that affected services including the App Store, Apple Music, and Apple TV. Multi-tenant cloud is supposed to be more resilient than in-house infrastructure, but recent events have shown that that's not really the case, and that cloud, sometimes that resiliency actually does fail. And we've seen that with Facebook, Verizon, and so many others over the last few weeks. And finally, is VPN really safe? Well, researchers at VPN Pro have pieced together ownership information through company listings, geolocation data, and CVs of employee and other documentations. In some instances, ownership of different VPNs is split among a number of subsidiaries. For example, Chinese company Innovative Connecting owns 3 separate businesses that produce VPN applications: Autumn Breeze 2018, Lemon Cove, and All Connected. In total, Innovative Connecting produces 10 seemingly unconnected VPN products, the study shows. Although the ownership of a number of VPN services by one company is not unusual, VPN Pro is concerned that so many are based in countries with lax or non-existent privacy laws. For example, 7 of the top VPN services are owned by Gaditech, based in Pakistan. That means the Pakistani government can legally access any data without warrant, and data can also be freely handed over to foreign institutions, according to VPN Pro. The ability to access data held by VPN providers, the researcher said, could enable governments or other organizations to identify users and their activity online. This potentially puts human rights activists, privacy advocates, investigative journalists, and whistleblowers all in jeopardy. So make sure you research your VPN provider. That's it for today's news and this week's news. We'll be back Monday with more. Make sure you subscribe, follow, and support and share these stories. Educate those around you about what's going on in the cyber world, because these threats aren't going away, they're only going to stay. That's it for today. See you Monday.